Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to your first day of class. I'm Marketing Communications Manager Daniel Sloan, and on behalf of Trident, I want to say thank you for taking the next step in your educational journey with us. New students often have a lot of questions, and we are here to help. As a way to ease you into our unique student-centered model, we've designed this webinar that will cover all of the areas vital to success in your chosen program. And before we get started with the intros and the presentation, just on behalf of everyone here at Trident, I want to let everyone know that all of us are here to support you. The past few months have been difficult for many of our students, and if you ever need a reminder that we're here to help, and in any situation, this is it. So we're happy to help. So don't let this be one of your only contacts with someone at Trident. Your professors, your advisors, everyone, we're here for you. And let me introduce our presenters today. I'm going to start out with Dr. George Delhiero, who joined Trident in 2010. Currently serves as a full-time instructor and course coordinator in our university college. During his time at Trident, he has worked closely with students in a variety of roles, including academic advising, financial aid, and academic probation support services. He earned a PhD in educational leadership from Trident and has received numerous awards during his time at the university. And next, I'd like to introduce Tasha Cureton, who joined Trident also in 2010. Currently serves as Student Success Advisor 3, advising students, teaching the Trident University Experience course, as well as working as a Disabilities Services Coordinator. For the past 8 years, she's helped facilitate initiatives to improve student success, and namely a senior manager in the Center for Student Success. From assisting with orientation to being a member of the Committee on Academic Standards, her passion is to help students reach their academic dreams. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. I know many of you in the audience will have questions. Feel free to ask them at any time. If you look to the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a control panel. Go about halfway down and you'll see a section for questions. Enter your questions, comments there, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation, where we'll open things up for a live Q&A session. This webinar will be recorded, and all attendees will receive a link to the webinar and a copy of the slides later this week. And now we're going to get things started with Tasha. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Danny, and welcome everybody. Welcome to your first day of class. We're so happy that you're here. And just by the fact that you're here today is a great sign that you're off on the right foot. So today we're going to talk about a few different topics in the webinar. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on tips for success and academic writing, talk a little bit about your support, and one of my favorite parts of the webinar is the Q&A session. It's live, so feel free to submit any questions in the box on the right-hand side should you want to discuss anything. We're happy to answer those. So today we'll start by talking about how to be successful. And the first thing that I always want to make sure we articulate is to be confident. You have so many unique perspectives that you're coming from. We have active duty military, we have people stay-at-home mothers, people advanced in their career, and we have grandparents on here. Whatever phase you are in life, whether you're right out of high school, your perspective is unique to you, and that we value that. And so be confident in sharing that. It can be a little nerve-wracking coming back to school if you've been out for a while. So hopefully this will help ease some of those nerves. And ask questions. I'm going to talk a little bit more today about communicating in your support group. I think that's really important because you're joining a new community, right? And then also we're going to spend some time on time management and kind of what to do for your first steps, your first day of class. And so please, if you can, take notes, especially when we say, okay, today do this. It's good to take notes in general because you can refer back to this should you need to. All right, so first let's talk about setting up a plan and managing your time. So today is the first day, you've joined our class, you've joined a class, and hopefully you've logged in. If you haven't, that's okay. Now is the time to start. So the first thing I'd always suggest is creating a time management plan And so think about your life and your day-to-day, how it changes. Maybe you have a schedule that's set, and maybe you have a schedule that changes from week to week. What does that look like? Where can you fit in school? What I find with students that are most successful is that it becomes part of their life and their schedule. If you approach school that you're going to fit it in when you have a moment, if you're like me, you get tired at the end of the night and there's stuff you need to do, but you can push it off till the next day. But if you have that plan, it becomes built into everything that you do. And maybe you only do school during the week. And so you would set up a calendar and a plan to do certain assignments on certain days. Maybe you only want to do school on the weekend. And so you would manage your schedule during the week to get everything done so you can do that. But the key is create a plan. And it's meant really online school for you to be able to have weekends, have holidays, vacations. Our sessions are 8 weeks, but that doesn't mean if you go away for a week or two that you shouldn't continue on in your education. You just plan accordingly, right? And so most of our work is due on the weekends or Mondays, depending on the class and the degree level that you're at. And so sit down with the calendar and take a look at what's going to work for you. Maybe you work better in the mornings, and so you want to do some homework then versus at night and vice versa. My rule for myself as a student at Trident in my master's degree was when I got home from work, don't touch the couch, because once I sat on that couch, I was never getting off of it. And so I would sometimes drive to a library. I know we can't do that right now in most states. So I would lock myself in my office and just sit down and just start working, get some food, and I was good. And don't be discouraged if you get behind. I think time management is something that you're going to be learning to perfect a lot in this first few sessions even. You know, think of it as you kind of being a freshman in college and learning the campus and learning where things are, in a sense, is that if you get behind, I think the key is to just not give up, because no one's telling you to go to class, right? You have to kind of encourage yourself to build that into your schedule. And so work closely with your staff and your instructor on due dates and what are your deadlines, what are your options. The students who connect with me the most are usually the most successful in a way because they are aware of all their options. So we're going to talk a little bit about that support group. I was thinking a lot about our values, and one of the main things that we value here at Trident is communicating and collaborating. It's one of our core values. And I was thinking during this time that online school is a way to really connect and feel part of something when we're not feeling so connected, right? And so you have a group of people who are available to assist you. You have your student success advisor, you have your admissions advisor, but right now you're working mostly with admissions, but you're going to transition over where your success advisor will become your main point of contact. You'll also have your finance advisor, and you'll be able to view your two advisors on your homepage of your student portal when you log into My TLC. You'll see it over in the right-hand corner. There's two photos, and that's kind of your main support group there. And then your instructor as well. They're available, ready to answer questions. And so just know that you're not alone, even though it feels like maybe you're just in a house or apartment or somewhere remote by yourself. Really reach out. My favorite is getting a call or an update from my students, and I say that and I truly mean it, because then I can tell maybe you're not doing well or maybe you are doing well, and I can help support you in whatever way. And I want to celebrate your successes with you. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the resources that are available to you. In your student portal, when I say student portal, I say mytlc.trident.edu, mytlc.trident.edu. On the homepage above the photos, there's a navigation bar, and one of the drop-downs says My Resources. So we're going to talk about that. When you first click in, you'll see some basic resources such as the writing style guide is one that I really value. If you haven't written a paper in a while or you're nervous about what the expectations are, it's a great place to start. Dr. Delhiero in a moment is going to dig even further into that, because that tends to be one of the main concerns with students when they come back to school after a while or transition into a new school. And so these are some of the resources, but if you go into your classroom, there's a resource that could be very helpful for you as well, and that's free tutoring. Now, as we see this next slide, I want you to look onto the screen, and if you happen to be in any of these course names, English 101, math, some of the math courses, statistics, finance, or TUX, these are the courses that offer free tutoring, and on the screen is how you would get to it. This is once you're in the classroom. Tutoring is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it only takes about 1 or 2 minutes to connect live with a tutor. So in addition to your support group, you would have this tutoring. If you're in a class that does not have the free tutoring, I definitely would always reach out to your instructor and see if there's additional resources. I don't know about you, but I love online education because this day and age, there are so many resources online. It's amazing. And I feel like new ones are coming out all the time of ways to help you in certain topics and learn about things, maybe in a way that speaks to you in a different way. The other resource we have that we are definitely very passionate about is the new student orientation. Now, for everyone on here, I would ask you to ask yourself if you have seen this or logged into this yet. My hope is that everyone has already, but if you have not, again, don't be discouraged. Today's the day, the first day of class. So this is somewhere where I would encourage you to log in and click. When you go to your courses, it will say student orientation. And this is an opportunity to learn the format of the classes, but it will also help you learn where you can practice submissions, you can participate in discussions, and then that way it's not so live, it's not graded, but you're starting to feel what the platform is like. And then it also has some really great tips on how to contact your instructor or what to expect as an online learner, and a lot more about that time management and getting set up. So please do that today if you have not already done. I see you writing it down, right? No, just kidding. So the new student orientation is a wonderful resource. Next, we're going to talk about step 1. Today's the day, class started. What do I do? If you have not, again, do orientation. Log in. Just start by logging into the portal. The more you click around, the more you're going to feel comfortable. Maybe you might not see something that you need to do today, but you know where something is. Oh, there's where I apply for my financial aid. Okay, there's where I request a transcript. There's where I see if I have all my admission documents, such as missing transcripts in. So you start to click around. The MyTLC portal is kind of like walking onto campus. And then in campus, there's your classroom, and it will say the online classroom TLC portal, and click there and go look around your class. If anything, you should for sure log into your class today and read the syllabus, read the assignments, and say hi to your fellow peers and post an introduction in the class. Introductions are not graded. They do not count for the participation requirement, but it's just a great way to say, hi, I'm here, and this is my unique background. I'm looking forward to being with you. It's also a great way to meet your instructors, because we do really like to see who's in our classes, and such a diverse population. I love it. It's one of my favorites. Now, as you are in your first class too, you're going to note that there is a participation requirement. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. But ask questions. Make sure you have your time management plan. I was thinking about this. So I have my phone, I have a planner over here, and I have a calendar on the wall. All things that I see all the time, but you want to make sure that you plug in your due dates to your calendar so that you can start to say, okay, I need to read this day. I need to write my paper and submit it. What's due this week? And so that you're off on a great start. And maybe you make a plan and it doesn't work this week. And so next week you recalibrate and you say, okay, what didn't work? I'm going to stop doing that and I'm going to make a new plan until you find something that really matches your groove and your lifestyle that helps you be successful at the same time. So in summary, we talked a little bit about just some quick reminders. We talked about that plan. If anything, I can't emphasize that enough. I've had students who will set alarms on their cell phone to remind them to do schoolwork. I'll have them set alarms to stop reading and start writing a paper. That's always a great option, or using your calendar. Make sure that when you go in this week, so today you're doing your introduction and you're reading about your class, I would encourage everyone to submit their Module 1 discussion by this Wednesday. So that's in 2 days, right? Let's see. Yeah, today's Monday. So that way you're submitting it within the first week of the module. Some classes do have the expectation to submit it by Wednesday, and you're making sure that you're not late. Make sure you meet the length requirement for your discussion. Sometimes it's 200 words, 100 words. It just depends on the class. And so when you go in, you're going to make sure that you have that discussion by Wednesday. You've read the class, maybe you've done the orientation today, and you're logging in every day just to get a sense of how much work you need to do. Now, the participation requirement is something all classes have, and you do need to make sure that you're submitting a graded assignment, usually by the Module 1 deadline, so that you're not dropped from the class. And that's important too. So if you're participating in your discussion by Wednesday, check, you've got that off the list, and that counts. And that's your Module 1 discussion. And if anything, just be proactive and reach out. We are here to support you. I can't say that enough. I know our advising team and our faculty, we are all eager to help you on your journey. We just watched commencement. We did a virtual commencement on Saturday, and it was it's the best time of the year. It was so inspiring just to see everyone from all walks of life achieve their academic goals. And that's what drives us, and that's what motivates us here at Trident to see you achieve. So that being said, we're going to have Dr. Delhiero take over, and he's going to talk about one of the big concerns that we all have when we're getting used to going back to school, and that's writing papers.
All
Dr.
right.
Delhiero?
Great. Thank you very much, Tasha. I hope you all were paying attention as closely as I was. I mean, Tasha is just one of the best in the business, and what she said, how she delivered those tips for success is really so important, especially as you're starting or restarting your academic journey. So this segment of the presentation is going to be focused on your academic writing. This is one of the concerns that some students have, either re-entering into school, or they've been out for a while, or they're just starting college for the first time, is this anxiety, this potential anxiety of how to write an essay. And the Trident model is based off of it's a case-based model, so it means that you're going to be doing a lot of writing, and that's actually a really strong, it's a really strong aspect of the model, because it challenges your critical thinking skills. And so if you're going to graduate from a university, you're going to be expected to have a high proficiency of written and oral communication skills. So our learning model really just falls right in line with that. I will say this, I will preface this section with saying this is not a catch-all. Like that, please make use of those resources on the TLC portal that Tasha mentioned, because this is just the goal of this section is just to get the wheels going and to help you build momentum in starting to work on these assignments, completing them, and moving on. So that being said, I will say that this slide right here is focused on some of the key differences between what you might experience from a military or business background, the writing expectations in those environments, versus what the writing expectations are within an academic environment. And so the first one is the goal of writing. And by that, when you're in a military environment or when you're in a business environment, your mission, you have this, you're goal oriented. So everything is focused on mission accomplishment. So everything you do, every project that you work on is geared towards this objective and accomplishing that objective as quickly and efficiently as possible. When you're in an academic environment, the expectation or the perspective is more of it helping you improve your communication skills. So that is a difficult dichotomy because you have a faculty member who's going to be continually critiquing and offering feedback, expecting you as a student to incorporate that feedback so that you are developing your critical thinking skills and your communication skills. And so how that plays out with you as a student is sometimes you'll have these questions within your assignment, and then a student will just with that mission accomplished, or sorry, that goal driven perspective, will say, all right, well, this is what Professor Delhiero wants me to answer. I'm just going to answer. I'm going to answer that as quickly and efficiently as possible. So then I get a two sentence reply, a 1 to 3 sentence reply. The problem with that is that your faculty member is not looking for that conclusion. It's not looking for the objective or the mission to be accomplished. We're looking for your thought development. And so we're looking for not only the conclusion, but more importantly, we're looking for the reasons why you came to that conclusion, how you came to that conclusion, what evidence do you have to support your reasoning and your rational development, your rational logical thought development. That's what your instructor is going to be looking for, and that's what we're going to be measuring and gauging you on as you move through these assignments, not just whether or not you answer these questions. So that's a point of frustration for some students, especially coming in into any kind of academic environment. It's going to be something that you're going to have to work on. The beauty of this, though, and I hope that you take this message away, is that you're not going to be perfect. Period. There is no right and wrong answer. There is just a spectrum of how well you frame your arguments. And so there's always improvement that could be made, and that's the mindset of your faculty member. So that's one of the key differences that you might find within your business/military experience with your written communication, and what you'll find as the expectations within the academic environment. The second key difference is the process of writing. So when you're in these business and military environments, your commanding officer may give you a task to draft up a memo. You'll draft up that memo. You'll pass it off to your superior. They'll edit it, and they'll make changes. They'll pass it off to their superior. And before a decision is made, there's 2 or 3 hands that have touched it and edited it and moved it along the chain. And that's called a multi-authored writing process. In an academic environment, you will find yourself in a single authored writing environment, which means you are the sole writer, you are the sole contributor to this document, to this essay. How that plays out within your academic experience is that you'll need to factor that into your writing, your time management process. So some students are, some students don't factor in the time it takes to edit and format and organize your ideas and think through the logical development of those ideas. And then that plays off, and that affects their grade. Essentially because, again, your faculty member is looking for the logical development of your ideas and how you support your conclusions, and that it flows, that your essay flows together. So as a student, you'll have to connect the bigger picture, these learning outcomes that we have on each module homepage. You have to connect the bigger picture, the learning outcomes, with each question within the assignment. And so that'll be a challenge that you'll definitely have to work through. And by the end of your program, you'll become extremely proficient in it. The third key difference is voice. So if you haven't noticed, when we were in an office, especially for those of you with military background, we're big on uniformity. You're big on uniformity. You dress the same, you talk the same, you look the same. That uniformity comes out also in one's writing oftentimes. And so although that's promoted within those types of environments, within an academic environment, you run the risk of having too much uniformity. Gives you allows you to run the risk of committing or violating certain academic integrity policies like plagiarism. So it's very important for you to use the APA citing tools and approaches that we have to support your ideas. And in addition to that, we're not necessarily looking only for the APA in-text citation, but we're looking for your independent understanding of these concepts and how they are integrated into various idea or various parts of the assignments. So we're going to be looking for how well you synthesize different ideas from various sources, how you paraphrase certain sections within your assignments and you put them in your own words. Synthesizing and paraphrasing ideas is going to be a really important part of your growth within your program. And so I strongly encourage you to do that. And again, your instructor is not only going to be looking for your direct quotations, but more importantly, we're going to be looking for your independent understanding of these concepts. And so these are certain points that as a faculty member within University College, which is where we find a lot of our new students, these are some of the issues that we run into with working with students. And honestly, these are things that everyone can, no matter how proficient you are in writing, can work and develop on. Okay, so the next slide is one that talks about the format of academic writing. And so again, this is not a catch-all. This is just a high-level overview of what an essay would look like. And I would strongly steer you in the direction of you making use of those writing resources within the TLC portal that we have for you. But again, this helps you. If this helps you get the wheels going, then perfect. And that's the goal of this slide. So there are 3 parts within each essay, main parts. There's the introduction, your body paragraphs, and your conclusion. Your introduction is basically just it's almost like the cover slide to your PowerPoint presentation. If any of you have ever given a presentation before, you're going to say, this is the topic that I'm talking about. This is why it's important. This is what we're going to be discussing, and this is why you should pay attention. This is what we're going to receive out of this essay or this presentation. So the same kind of concept applies for your introduction paragraph. You're going to be hitting all those main points. One of the things that you'll have to include is something called the thesis statement. Again, there are some resources on the Writing Resources Lab that can help you draft these. But in essence, your thesis statement is basically telling your audience, your reader, what the purpose of your essay is. So you can say something like, the purpose of this essay is fill in the blank. And oftentimes that fill in the blank, as an instructor, I'm looking for the learning outcomes. So I'm looking for the learning outcomes that are posted on each module homepage. Again, there are learning outcomes on each module homepage that tells you really the purpose of the module, of each assignment. And so if you can include that into your thesis statement, you'll be golden, and it'll help you frame your mind when you're writing your essay about how each of these questions that I'm asked on each assignment address the learning outcome. So that's a really key strategy. If any of you are running into some writer's block, refocus on those learning outcomes. From there, you're going to have the different sections. So I listed some bullet points here, and I kind of want you to. I do like using the analogy of a PowerPoint presentation. So if any of you have ever done this, each slide has a heading, and sometimes you have subheadings, and sometimes you have bullet points. So within each section, include a heading, so it makes it really clear to your instructor what this section is going to be talking about, and that you've addressed this specific part of an assignment. So those things are like make it so much easier for your instructor to say yes, to give you points, to give you the points that you need to just validate that you've done the work, that you're addressing each part to confirm that you've done the work on each assignment. So make use of headings and subheadings. Within each section should probably answer each, a part of the assignment and a question of the assignment. And so some students struggle again with how to draft a paragraph, because sometimes, again, with this mission focus, this focus of mission accomplishment, students run into being too brief and too concise. So that means they're not explaining their ideas more, clearly and thoroughly enough. So I recommend going between 4 to 7 sentences. No one's going to be counting your sentences within your paragraphs, but as a writer, as a student, I think it's a good gauge for you, because if you're going below that 4-sentence mark, then you're probably being too concise, and that you need to further explain your ideas, maybe provide some more evidence, some more development of your ideas. And if you're going above that 7-sentence mark, then you should probably either break it down into multiple paragraphs or challenge yourself to be more concise, with condensing those ideas into a smaller format. And what that does is it highlights your main ideas so much clearer to your instructor, and it, again, it just makes it easier for your instructor to give you the points that you earn on these assignments. We mentioned in-text citations. Highly recommend making use of in-text citations. Many of you have great experiences, but part of this learning experience is doing the research, putting yourself in the position of doing objective research to validate your ideas or to support your ideas. So make use of in-text citations and a reference page. Okay. Oh yeah. And so I mentioned this before. I'm kind of going through these bullet points. I mentioned, if you're struggling with writer's block, if you're hitting a wall, like how else can I, what else do I need to say? Go back to those learning outcomes on the module homepage, because each assignment has like 2 or 3 learning outcomes that you can talk about, and so include a sentence in there about integrates what this idea that you have in the paragraph, how that relates to the learning outcome. If you do that, you're going to do extremely well in these assignments, because you're connecting these smaller details to the larger picture. And then finally, if you're struggling with how to even start a paragraph, I like to hit these points. It's the last bullet point within the body of the paragraphs. I'm looking for, as an instructor, for you to define these key terms, explain the application of the term to the actual assignment, and then explain why it's important to whatever you're studying, to the topic of your module. If you do those 3 things, you'll get pretty close. You'll get to the 4 to 7 mark if you just spend a sentence or 2 on each of those ideas. So that I hope that's helpful for you. And then the conclusion paragraph is really just a mirror of the introduction. So the introduction is saying, this is what we're going to learn, or this is what I'm going to be talking about. This is why it's important. Your conclusion paragraph is just going to be mirroring that, wrapping everything all up again. You're just going to be saying, this is what we have learned. This is what I have talked about, and this is why it's important. So again, nobody's expecting you to be perfect on this. In fact, your instructor is not expecting that at all. So I want you to approach these assignments with the mantra of striving for progress and not perfection. Striving for progress and not perfection. Okay, because even the greatest writers in the world always have room for improvement. So I hope you find that helpful. At this point, I'm going to transition over to Daniel Sloan to talk about some career and networking services that we have at Trident University.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Delhiero. And I know writing can be a struggle for a lot of people. And like he said, even those who are very good at it, it can be difficult. But we do have resources here to support you. 2 things I want to mention to everyone before we get into the Q&A section, because I know a lot of you are well into your careers and are looking for ways to support your career progress as well as support your educational progress. First, I want to share Alumni Fire. which is for all students, not just Trident alumni. So if today is your very first day as a Trident student, I implore you to go sign up for it. It's a great place. You can connect with other students, alumni, faculty, and staff to get advice on education, career, and more. The URL is on the screen. I'll put it in the chat box a bit later. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to our alumni director, Kendra Temple, at alumni@trident.edu. And a plug for one of our other webinars, we'll be having a how-to webinar on Alumni Fire on, I believe it's August 26th. I may have gotten that wrong, but we'll make sure we get the date and information out to you. It's the last Wednesday in August. But like I said, we'll get that info to you. So if you want to learn more, that's going to be a great place to go. And you're coming in at the right time since it's the first time we've done one of these in a few years. And also want to mention Career Beam. It's a great place for career development resources such as resume reviews, interview practice, and more. So reach out to Trident for Careers at trident.edu for more information. And our Career Center Manager, James Shiver, will be glad to help you out there. So let's move on to our Q&A section. Give a few seconds for Dr. Delhiero and Tasha to come back on screen. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, you can submit them via the question box on the right-hand side of your screen. Got a couple questions in already. And first question, this one is for you, Tasha. And see, question is, I've been out of school for over a year. Do you think it's feasible for me to actually pass the capstone? This is a big worry of mine.
Thanks. That's a good question. Yes, I do. I see students do it. So that's why I'm saying in general, yes. So think the capstone course, and I am not sure what program you're in, but generally they're more comprehensive. If you're talking about your bachelor's or your master's or even your associate's degree. So you think of like in a business degree, for example, you've learned about leadership, you've learned about finance and accounting. So a capstone is going to have it's not just going to focus on finance, it's going to embody multiple topics that you've learned over your prior education. In the College of Health and Human Services, they typically recommend that you save your work so that you can reference it for your capstone. But I will see students come back and be successful. It's the same format that you're used to in the sense that it's 4 modules. It's a case assignment, an SLP, and a discussion for each module. So that in a sense is a little less intimidating when you think of that way. It's not that it's one massive paper compiled together. But keep in mind that the requirement to pass the class for the capstone at the bachelor's and master's level is the bachelor's level is a C or higher. So a C- would not be passing. And at the master's level, you can get a B- and that's fine. Anything below would not be passing. But at the master's level, the GPA is tighter, and so you have to graduate with a 3.0, and at the bachelor's level, you have to graduate with a 2.0. So keep those things in mind. If you're tracking your points, you're reading your feedback, you're asking questions, I think you'll do just great.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of that. I mean, to other students who may be a year away from their capstone or a few sessions away from their capstone, the brilliant thing about the Trident curriculum, and something you should be very proud of for being here with us, is that the model is a scaffolding model. And what I mean by that is that it builds upon each other, so that each class is an appropriate challenge for you. So don't have that anxiety. If you do have that anxiety about the class, about entering into a class that sounds difficult, or now you're in your program classes and I don't know if I'm there yet. Believe me, if you're there, if you're ready to take the class, your advisor won't put you in the class if you're not ready for it. But have confidence in us as your Trident team and family, that we're going to get you to the finish line. Will there be a challenge? Absolutely, it will be a challenge, but trust us, you do have the skills. You wouldn't be in the class to begin with if you didn't have the skills and the abilities to be successful in that class and in the program. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Great, thanks for that addition. Next question, Tasha. Have a student who's struggling with the navigation of the website. Is there a tour guide on how they and others could navigate the portal?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. And think of it, you know, there's not much you can click into where you're going to mess things up. So I want you to feel confident in just exploring in general. If you are in the classroom and you're struggling to navigate, if you can get into the orientation, great. On the home page, well, I'll start with, if you just log into the My TLC portal in general, on the lower left-hand corner, there's going to say tools and links, and there's going to be a bunch of apps. They look like apps. If you click on support, I always like to just search videos, and there's 1 to 2 minute videos with all sorts of tutorials. And one of them that comes up is how to navigate the websites and the portal in general. You can also view on the homepage of your classroom. So the way you can tell that you're in the classroom is the background is white versus the other portal TLC page is the background is blue. So if the background is white, then there's, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a help for students section, and there's great tutorials there as well that are PDF versions. So if you're a learner that likes videos, go into the support page on the home page of the portal. It's the app that says support. Click videos, search videos, and the tutorials will come up. Otherwise, on the home page. That's my way of saying, no matter where you are, there's help and there's ways that will show you how to navigate the page. And if you still can't figure it out, your advisor, your admissions advisor, or your student success advisor is a phone call away, and that's what we do. So we're happy to help you get comfortable.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tasha.
Sorry, I was muted. I just wanted to piggyback off of that because it is a common frustration for many of our new students. Some of them do really well. They've been involved in online portals before, so they could find themselves their way around pretty quickly. But I equate this, this experience, this frustration, maybe is, it doesn't matter where you're at, on an online campus, a brick and mortar campus. It's going to be, there's going to be a transition. There's going to be a gap for you to learning gap for you to know where the bathroom's at, or where's my class, or where's this building or that building. So it's a common frustration regardless of the learning environment that you're in. Stick with it. We have plenty of tools to help you. But just think about that, is that this is going to be something that you're going to have to, that everyone experiences, and trust me, it won't take but a week or a couple of days for you to become incredibly proficient in it.
Great. Thank you for the advice. And sticking with Dr. Delhiero, this question often comes up, and it's a good one. I'm going to send it to you because I know this is something you deal with a lot. Is the deadline of submission for both CASE and SLP assignments the same?
Yes. So CASE, SLP, discussion, those three assignments all have the same deadlines. I will say this, that with those deadlines, they're meant to keep you on track. But if anything were to pop up pop up for you that where you need some flexibility, trust us. I mean, we are more than happy with being flexible with you and adjusting those deadlines if that's what you need. Because this, even though we, with the flexibility of the program, we offer this highly individual, high touch support system for you, and these practices that allow us to make adjustments if necessary. The big thing for you to remember, though, is reach out to us, please, so that we can support you. The more time we have to work with you, then the more practices, the more policies in place, the more systems in place to help you out. my hands are strapped if you're emailing me on the Sunday, the night before the class ends, and I can't do anything to give you an extension because of the time. So please reach out, even if there's a bit of a concern, then we can at least work proactively. Another great question that students have is, can you submit assignments early? And my recommendation is absolutely yes, please do. I mean, you definitely have that flexibility. Even if you want to submit assignments ahead of time, working ahead, you have that opportunity. The thing to remember though is your time management, your time management strategy that Tasha talked about. I think it's a great practice for you to get to start implementing, is by submitting an assignment once a week or once every other day, depending on how many classes you have. But also make use of the instructor feedback. Take a look at that instructor feedback, because that'll help you earn the best grade possible if you're working ahead or if you're submitting early, things like that. I know Tasha has probably some great ideas on this too, or some suggestions.
I think the biggest thing is just to keep up with your discussions. Often students will work ahead, and which is great, because then you can go on that vacation or you can do what you need to do. Just be aware that the discussion, most of the class probably hasn't gotten to that discussion, and you are required to usually do peer posts, which is half of your discussion grade. And so to make a reminder the week of, or maybe the week after, depending, or closer to it, that you want to make sure you participate. That's probably the biggest thing I see students miss when they're working ahead. You don't want to miss those points. Points is the name of the game. Your total class is usually out of 420, and every assignment has a point designation. So that's all.
Which means if you don't do an assignment, you get 0 points. But if you submit something, you might get some points. So it's a points-based system. Great.
Yeah.
Great point. Thank you.
That was funny. So we have one more question. We'll take care of, and before Dr. Delhiero and Tasha will close us out with a piece of student advice or words of wisdom. And that question, I'm going to send this to you, Dr. Delhiero. And that question is, in regards to emailing professors, how easily is it for me to reach out and connect with the professor? And as someone who spends a lot of time out in the field, in the military, is that something I can work with each professor on? Because I often spend a lot of time out in the field. I think I got that question right. So let me know if you need any clarity on that.
Yeah, I think I'll do my best to answer that. So every instructor is going to have their own different communication preference. My preference, and I think a lot of the instructors that I work with are in the same boat, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we are calling, we're texting, we're emailing, we're instant messaging our students, all through the TLC portal. So a lot of your instructors will be extremely accessible, I believe. You can set up appointments for if you need to talk with them online, or just with more depth. So I've always been, I believe that our instructors are pretty accessible. Most of our instructors do communicate through email, but I know a lot of our instructors are open to speaking through the phone. So we will meet you where you're at. You let us know how you prefer to communicate. We're gonna do our best to reach, to cover all of our bases to connect with you, especially if we think that we need to that there's something that needs to be addressed to get you through the class. So I really think that we're a pretty accessible group, and on top of that, we are willing and able and want to work with you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. You've heard Tasha say this and Daniel say this. But speaking on for the faculty, we love working with our students. You are why we're here. You're our purpose. So if something is not, is not clicking with you, then, or if you have a question, then we would much rather have you reach out to us. No instructor wants to deduct points. I actually can't. I mean, it's so much easier for me to go through a paper and say, oh, this is perfect, well done here and there, maybe a little adjustment here, but otherwise fantastic work. No one lives their life as an instructor to make your life miserable. So we want to help out. I'd rather have you reach out to me than have you waste time trying to figure something out yourself, and then you're not only wasting time, but you miss the point. So most things could be addressed through a phone call or a quick email. So please make use of us. We're willing and able, and we really do want to help and see you be successful.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you for your questions. If you have anything else and get things in at the last minute, we will circle back and email you. But like I said, I'm going to leave things with Tasha and then Dr. Delhiero to close it out with some words of wisdom. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. One thing in closing I was thinking about is what a unique opportunity we have right now to be working side by side with our children who are in the house and we're in the house, and maybe it's not your children, maybe it's someone else in your support group. And to have them see you doing your schoolwork will help them see that it's important to you. Your children will remember mom's doing their homework, and they'll start to ask you, they'll start to have you be accountable, just like you're having them be accountable to you. Maybe it's a spouse, and this is a long-term goal for you. Maybe it's not as important to them, but when they see you scheduling that time out and carving it out and making it a priority, it's going to be important to your support group, which in turn will make it easier for you to carve out that time, because you're not going to be fighting as much to find the time to do it. And so I would say, make your goals known, involve your family, involve your friends, and say, hey, I can't tonight. Thursday night's my school night. You want to come over? Well, I guess it's a pandemic. Sorry, I'm very social. If you want to do a Skype session, I'll be doing my homework. But just to put it out there and let people see what your goals are. And I can't tell you how many students I've had during this pandemic who've said, my kids are like involved now in my homework and want to know how I'm doing in school, and they're showing that interest and they're excited for you, and that sets an example for them. And so I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah, I can't do any better than that. I think Tasha just said it so eloquently and perfectly. But I will say, to piggyback off of what Tasha said, this goal isn't just your goal. It's a family goal, and it does, and your family, does expand beyond just, your family, like your kids and your spouse. It's your tribe. It's the people around you. So think of this goal as bigger than yourself, and that it's a family goal. It's a group goal, and when you graduate, you're not the only one sacrificing. They're sacrificing too, and that just makes graduation that much sweeter. And that's just coming off of our graduation commencement we had this weekend. It's just so moving to see everyone crossing that stage has set this goal to something, has elevated it to something bigger than themselves. And so I just encourage you to think about that. So thank you all. It's great to have you part of the Trident family. I can't wait to see some of you in our classes, my class, and especially at graduation in the near future. Bye. Good luck.